Listen up, get ready, I'm not gonna take no more. There's a revolution, a revelation going on in my soul. Buckle up, get ready, we're not gonna say...
Welcome back to Live from the Heartland for the week of March 30th. And it gives me a lot of pleasure to bring on our next guest. He's someone I go way back to the early 70s with. We were both members of Rising Up Angry, and he did work at the Heartland Cafe for a while before he kept touring the country with various bands that he was involved with and finally moving to Hawaii. It's the one and only Michael Piranha McGraw from Honolulu, Hawaii. Hello, Michael.
Hello.
Good morning to you. It's morning here.
Aloha kakahiaka. That's good morning here.
How about telling our listeners, you have been on our show before, particularly after the big fire, as well as with some of your music. But I'd like to get your take on a number of things today. Let's tell our listeners, our viewers, a little bit about who you are and how you ended up coming from, well, how we met, how you grew up in Chicago, and how you ended up in Hawaii.
Well, we met in 72. I had a really good band named Killing Floor. The band was homegrown, south side of Chicago. I was the kid from McKinley Park, 35th and Western. And then there was a kid from the Kelly High School area, Larry Gauman, down on 45th and Fairfield. And then two guys from Archer Park, which we considered the suburbs because it was 2 miles away. We thought they were all more fortunate than us because they had bungalows. But it was Mick Archer and Chuck Pazda. And that was our band, and we were playing around, and Mick was I was student council president in 71, then graduated. Mick was student council president in 72. And in 72, Nixon mined the harbors in Cambodia, and Mick organized a walkout of the whole school. And I went to support him, even though I was already out of high school for a year. And Rising Up Angry, people were there to help and advise, and also get in some good trouble. And a couple of them were arrested, and a couple of Kelly. I think Mick was arrested, and he was my best friend at the time. So, that I thought, well, this was pretty cool. This unit of people that looked really hip and smart and gentle too, came down and showed their anger not at us, but at the authorities that were coming after us for walking out, or for at least me for being there for the walkout. So that was my first association with Rising Up Angry. I think Jill Nelson was the first person I met, and then you were the second. So that's how I got, and then the band got locked into playing for stuff to help the Angry cause.
Yeah, we had these people's dances, and I remember Killing Floor played at one that we held at the old dance studio on Racine and Seminary, I believe it was Mo Ming. And you and I have been pals ever since. How did you end up coming to Hawaii?
We were booked here to play in 1978 when our agency, who was called the Good Music Agency, that's kind of ironic, but GMA, they were out of Missoula, Montana. They booked a lot of Chicago bands, but Missoula was their headquarters. And we somehow got connected up with them through Prestige Talent in Chicago. And the GMA agent called and said, how'd you like to go to Hawaii with your band for 13 weeks? And we're like, yeah. And he said, well, if you'll play, it was winter. And he said, if you'll play Wisconsin, Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota, and Manitoba, and then swing back and touch all those clubs again, which is a death sentence in the winter, we'll send you to Hawaii. So we did it, and damn near froze a couple times. I had our guitar player, Phil, got stranded. It was 1978. There wasn't even a payphone, let alone a cell phone. He sat there with his cold Indiana ass in his car until somebody found him. It was rugged for a touring band. But we got back home, and they sent us here for 13 weeks, and we fired them and stayed for 14 months, and then booked ourselves back 8 times. And then I moved here.
And what year was that?
92. We had been released from MCA Records after we recorded an album form. It was only released in Japan. And they gave us our masters back, which was good because I own them now with Scott Myers. And we were 30. Tom Piranha and I were both in our late 30s. So no sense thinking about getting re-signed, as Hal would know, who was signed, and Cadian would know. 38 is senior citizen in pop music, you know. So we were too old to be re-signed to a major. So we moved here and just started working locally. I'm happy we did. We've had a real good career here.
Well, share a little bit about that, because while I've been out here with you, I've gone to 3 musical events, 2 of them with, well, all 3 you were involved with. One of them, there was a band playing and you were called up to sing. And it's, you clearly, from what I've seen, a lot of people and you've played a lot of places. The narrative you gave me as we drove to the North Shore and went around the island, we'd spend a whole day visiting places. Tell people a little bit about what it's like playing on the island and what it's like being a working, gigging musician on a pretty much daily basis.
That's a good question. And by the way, that drive North Shore and back was one of my most pleasurable days in a long time. So thanks for taking that with me. This island, it keeps you humble, no matter what your level of success is. It keeps you humble without keeping you humiliated. We're a hospitality-based economy. We're the 12th largest city in the United States here in Honolulu, and we count on at least 200,000 incoming visitors a day coming and going, and the turnover. That keeps us rolling completely. I mean, we'd be a pineapple stand if everybody stopped coming here for their vacations. So that being said, there's big stars from this island. If you go on and look at any of the Playing for Change videos, you'll occasionally or more often than not see John Cruz, who's a big star here. Lopaka Colon, who's my percussionist and a big star here. He also lives in Mick Fleetwood's band. Mick lives on Maui. So you see these guys of big stature. I've won 4 awards for Best Rock Album since 1998 and a Best of the Best performance. All that stuff doesn't stop me from playing for $200 for a set at lunch where everybody's eating and not listening. It's not my place to say, hey, look at me years are long over. So I'm a sonic backdrop, a curtain for their what they need to work out and eat. So it's kind of a good feeling because you play covers, you play some of your stuff, you work on material, and even Jack Johnson or Johnny or Taimani or any of the people you see nationally, they'll come and play a club just like that, where people are eating dinner. It's pretty funny to see Jack Johnson get 30,000 people in a stadium and then play the Maui Arts and Culture Center and people are looking for their waiter. I mean, it keeps you humble. There's no pretensions here of hi muckety muck guy, I love that. And it gives me a chance to keep working late in my years, which I'm doing.
Yeah, you're doing
pretty
good.
Great.
Yeah, I enjoy. We went to a place called Tiki's.
Yeah.
And you played there, and then we were at Nico's. We went to see another band, but the Nico's experience, which is a restaurant, he's a French fellow. He invited you to bring me along to the fish market, the auction. And why don't you tell people a little bit about that? Because I've been posting pictures, and I'm sure we'll have Hal put some up for the video versions of this show. But it was something else to see these fishing boats had just come in and they're unloading these giant tuna, and then there's guys bidding on them. Tell me a little bit about your impression of that.
He was so excited to have us and you as mainland photojournalists there. And he's a wonderful guy, right? He's very unassuming. You'd look at him and say, does he work at the ice company next door? And he's the owner of Nico's. He's Nico, Nico Chazet. And I think he first told, wonderful. He's so excited to show us what they do. And I remember him telling you and me, when you go in there and they're doing the auction, do not even raise your hand accidentally because you will buy a fish. And, he was just playful and happy about it. And we saw bluefin tuna, yellowfin tuna, big-eyed tuna. We saw swordfish. We saw aku. We saw sharks. We saw the room with beheaded and detailed sharks for whatever shark meat delicacy. Probably that stuff goes to Japan. Don't know. But, I mean, what did we see? We saw 29,000 pounds was the catch the day you and I walked through there because it was on the auction board. We saw 29,000 pounds of really big fish. It was amazing. He loves showing you and naturally you always go for humanity, not engineering shots. You look for the guy who's got the cigarette closing his one eye, or a guy whose fishtail slapping him back while he's holding it, and you always capture that moment. So I thought it was a good outing for your eye and for us in the morning.
Yeah, it was good. And we'll be talking about it for the rest of our lives, I'm sure. Clearly you love the island and you love living here. You probably would love being wherever you are, but what are some of the challenges of being like 3,000 miles away from the West Coast, or the challenges of just being a big city with things going on, and challenges of being a Halle guy, a white guy in a non-white culture in many ways here?
Well, traveling to see your loved ones who are not living in the 50th state, or even off islands a world away if you're a busy person on the island you live on. So the challenge of me not being able to drive over to either of my daughter's houses or go see my sister, it would take me, Sherry lives in Joliet, so to fly there, and then, fly back. And so it's a big plan to visit your loved ones. That's the most hurtful thing. And especially for my wife, Diana, who's 10 feet tall and bulletproof, even though she's 5'2". She's just so resolute and resilient, but she's a twin. Her sister's in Canada, in Victoria, on Vancouver Island. And those two are truly joined at the womb. They've been, best friends forever since they were in mommy's tummy, and she misses her horribly. So that I'm emphasizing that. The other challenges are everything costs a third more than it does in the mainland. Gas, groceries. You live with that. Wages might be a little higher here. I know my wage for a musician, if I was working around, Joliet and Romeoville and Waukegan, and I was working those places, I wouldn't be making $250 for a 1 hour set, which is basically the going rate. I'll make between 4 and 5 at night for a 2 hour evening. So I can generate that cash so I can pay $6 for a box of Fruit Loops. That's, so that answers the second challenge. As far as the racial challenge, this place is such a melting pot. The people who do step up and say, this is our island, this is our land, you have to respect it. My only take on this, and this isn't, I'm not taking a political stance on it. Everybody's an immigrant here. The Marquesans came here 2,000 years ago. They paddled here. My hat's off to them. I flew here. But, this island has been populated with any kind of mammals. There were no mammals on this island, no humans on this island 2,000 years ago on these islands. So we're all immigrants. And I think that's part of the goodwill that's here. Everybody overt racism is almost invisible here. If people practice it, they must be doing it in their basement on their crappy little laptop, because there's a whole lot of love here. And that's what keeps me here. Nice weather, and that's always a plus. But the kindness is real. I like it. If they take a salty old bastard like me, hey.
Let me ask you a little bit more about life on the island. It tends to be politically Democratic dominant.
Yeah.
You did tell me that there were some Trumpers riding around, and everyone seems to be driving a Toyota or a Ford truck, a four-door truck with a little bed in the back. And you told me there were these Trumpers riding around with American flags, and I did see one the other day. It was these guys, old brand new vehicle, just laden with all stuff.
They're so cute. So we look, there's 9 people voting for Trump on the island. Look how they're cute. We're overwhelmingly Democratic, right?
One of the things that hit me, we were driving around, we were taking a friend of yours to the hospital, a military hospital, Army hospital, and we went back the next day. And then at some point, we were talking about fuel and the price of gas. And there are very few electric vehicles here. And someone said, well, it takes oil to charge the charging stations. So, and I don't think, we did see some windmills, and I'm sure that a lot of other places there are windmills, but it made me wonder, are the charging stations in the States, are they charged by windmills or are they charged by fuel? And what's the contradiction there?
I know that there's pitifully few public charging stations here. So even though you can circumnavigate the island, or you probably drive around it twice before your battery goes there. What do you get? 240 miles out of a charged Tesla or something. So that's circling the island a couple times. So I mean, I think the sense of urgency, like it's not like, hey, we're 100 miles from Tulsa, better put a charging station here, because it's 200 miles from the next place. So we don't have that problem. Everything is so centrally located because we're 40 miles wide and 50 miles, straight up and down. So,
well, one of the things we did while I was staying with you, and I'm now staying over in Iwa. Eva, I'm working on it. The guy who will be our next guest, but you every morning we would watch Jimmy Kimmel, and you would introduce me to movies I had not seen, and you would introduce me to musicians I didn't know anything about. You accused me of really being a backwater guy, kind of, any new name and all that. So talk a little bit about the...
Wait. To say to your adoring public, may I quote Michael James directly? Who's this Bruno Mars guy? I rest my case to Supreme Court. Even the Supreme Court writers go, oh no, you don't know Bruno Mars. So
Well, I was pretty impressed with that Uptown song that he did. That everyone was dancing away.
Yeah.
But who are some of the people I should be looking out to take in and grasp and feel the vibe? And who are some of the comedians that you think are important?
Well, off this island, just quickly a plug for the island, I would listen to John Cruz and John Helm. They're two of my favorites, and they're my good friends. They make excellent music, excellent. And I'll just put the plug in for them too, because I could go on and on. There's so many talented musicians here. But I'm an modern acoustic soul fanboy. That's my thing. So I sneak over into some pop country, but mostly I stayed down the Americana listening line, because I will listen for hours at people who ply the same craft that I like the sound of. So Amos Lee, of course, Foy Vance, he's unbelievable. Amos Lee, Lee Rogers, another Irish bard, he's unbelievable. There's a northern British guy named Charlie Cunningham. I listen to all these guys all the time. I'm kind of buried in those grooves right now. So I'm 70. I try not to get fed stuff by people who think I should hear it. I'll find it. And I'm so grateful for AI. My Spotify loves me. I'll be listening to this stuff and Mr. AI will come on and say, whoa, Piranha, try this because you listen to that. And I love it. I mean, they show me a whole world that the connectivity and the style and the professionalism kills me. I love it. So I'm a big fan of that kind of stuff. Start with Amos Lee and Foy Vance and then go left from there. You'll love it.
I'll be working on that. Now, let me ask you a little bit about your favorite comics, because, I don't watch a lot of comedy. I think I'm funny enough, but you're the guy making jokes all the time. You got a bunch of jokes you tell all the time, and you do study these comics. You got some favorites?
Yeah, I do. I love the guys that work semi-clean. I love your Chicago boy, Sebastian Maniscalco. He's even Jerry Seinfeld said he might be the funniest guy alive. But I don't know that he's that, but he cracks me up, and it's all based in, he's from Chicago, so he talks like this. He lives in LA now in a mansion because he fills stadiums with comedy. Sebastian Maniscalco, Brian Regan, still one of my favorites. I love that Finnish comic Ismo. He cracks me up. I like Kimmel and Conan and all the stuff they do, because they have their own shows because they're the funniest guys on the planet. A handful of them, right? So and Kimmel will always lead you to more funny people. Or your AI on YouTube. Did you like Kimmel? Well, listen to this fella, right?
Well, you have a giant TV. It inspired me to try to get a larger TV, but
It inspired my wife to file divorce papers for about 5 minutes when it got delivered.
let me ask you about your next door neighbor and what he said when you told him where I was going to go.
I said you were going out, Eva, to stay with, because Mike has been stone. My friend Mike Lum, most wonderful neighbor on the planet, just fantastic. Looks out for everybody on the block. Big Hawaiian boy. He's an aquatics instructor at the exclusive Kamehameha school system, and he's in his mid-50s, and he's terrific. And he's a freak for college basketball, football, baseball. He's just he has 3 TVs in his house, and you can hear him swearing as he passes one, and then sitting down to the other one and clapping hands, applauding and swearing. I just love him so much. But I said, my amigo Michael's going to go out and stay with his longtime friend, Guy Benjamin. And I didn't even get a descriptive follow-up with that. He went, Guy Benjamin, Stanford, 49ers. That guy is a stud. I've never heard Mike call somebody a stud because he's basically a stud. And, and I told him, yeah, sometime, we'll hook up. We'll get a guy up here to have a Modelo. That's what Mike likes to drink. We'll have a Modelo with. But yeah, he's crazy about Guy. He followed his career.
Well, hopefully we'll get them to meet each other. It won't be while I'm here. But Michael, we got about a minute left. How about do you think of any parting words on the world and going forward, and as serious as you want to make it?
I've lost some really close friends, and I'm losing another one in the last year and a half so rapidly and so quickly to the worst degenerative diseases that we all fear having. And I've come to a place where it's my mission not to pack a nightclub, but to help them out, help them on their way out. That's what I've been doing. And or seeing you after not seeing you since 2000, I don't know, 16 or 17 when I came there to run a marathon. So just cherishing every moment I have with the people who were the fabric of my life. It feels freaking great.
Well, Piranha McGraw, Mike, you are a wonderful guy, and I am very proud to be your friend and happy to be your friend, glad to be your friend. And I want to thank you you and Diana for being such a gracious hosts as I lumbered around your house, dodging your cats, looking out
they love you,
looking for geckos, and having a good time. And I'll maybe see you later today if we get in to see you at
Tiki's. I'm reserving a table right in front of me, so you will suffer.